you buy a chocolate bar in a package that claims the thing is 25% bigger than the previous version. Yum! Then you pick out a shampoo that has only natural ingredients on the bottle and costs surprisingly little. Ooh! Now stop. Do you really get a great bargain, or is it just the manufacturers fooling you? Think twice. Marketing experts are talented manipulators. Here's my checklist to help you make smart buying decisions. 1. Always pay attention to the weight written on the package. A bag or a bottle itself may look bigger than others produced by the same brand, but its weight can be absolutely the same. 2. Keep in mind that a product's ingredients are always listed in order of their proportion. The first 2 or 3 things on the list are what you actually eat. Don't let some fancy-sounding components tempt you into buying the product if they're at the end of the list. Their amount is likely to be teeny tiny. 3. You grab a carton after seeing big bright letters, 100% juice. What you fail to notice, or at least manufacturers hope so, is the fine print. It usually claims something along the lines of "and other ingredients," meaning that there might be water, sugar, and additives inside that box. 4. An effective trick is to make a product attractive on the outside and leave it blank and boring inside. Yeah, I'm talking about that cheese bread where the only cheesy part is on the top. 5. Oh, and let's not forget about the packaging. For example, customers perceive food sold in tall, skinny containers as having fewer calories than those you buy in wider and lower packages. Plus, people subconsciously believe that things packed in slim, humanoid-shaped containers are healthier than others. That's why juices and water sold in bottles with a prominent waist are so popular. 6. Food manufacturers love decorating their packaging with images of green fields, ripe fruit, and fresh vegetables. Most people fall for these pretty pictures, even though they don't have anything in common with the real situation. Like, have you seen the amount of sugar in a snack bar with bright fruit on the package? 7. Not only the packaging itself, but also the material it's made of can be totally misleading. You've probably seen brown recycled craft paper popular today. You perceive this material as eco-friendly, and it leads you to believe that the insides are somehow better too. This method is so effective that people even consider junk food to be of higher quality and healthier if it's wrapped in craft paper. 8. Some manufacturers aren't strangers to using optical illusions to make customers think there is more product than in reality. Empty space inside boxes, inflated plastic bags, labels stuck at the top of glass bottles so you don't notice they are half empty. If you know of any other tricks like these, feel free to share them in the comments. 9. Fresh or farm-fresh labels on products don't have anything to do with how fresh the food actually is. For example, if you see "fresh" sign on meat, it only means that it hasn't been frozen. Farm fresh, in turn, doesn't tell you anything about the conditions in which animals are raised or crops and vegetables are grown on that particular farm. 10. When you buy something that has 100% biodegradable or 100% compostable or whatnot written all over it, you suppose that you get something that won't harm the environment. Unfortunately, in most cases, this label refers to the content, not to the packaging, which is no way recyclable or compostable. So, check the fine print, please. 11. Most producers show the amount of sugar, fat, and calories for very small serving sizes. Those customers who care about such things see low numbers and eagerly buy the product. Keep in mind that most of these servings are tiny and have nothing to do with reality. For example, when we talk about chips, a serving portion can be 15 pieces. Now, who on earth eats chips in such small amounts? Not me. 12. You can see a product's packaging claiming that it has 0 trans fat or 0 saturated fat per serving. Unfortunately, the manufacturer's 0 is quite different from your 0. In most cases, the food still contains small amounts of harmful substances per serving. Due to the unrealistic sizes of these servings, these small amounts add up, and your food isn't as healthy as you thought before. 13. Manufacturers often write that their new product is twice as big as the previous edition, but in most cases it's not true. All you need to do to figure out this ruse is to compare the two versions. In most cases, it's a shocking eye-opener. By the way, If you see a jumbo box of something, be prepared to find a regular bag inside. 14. To make their products look better than they are, manufacturers often create their own mix of healthy ingredients and put this blend at the top of the ingredient list. This way, it becomes one of the main components. If they didn't do it, something unhealthy like sugar would get to the top. Pay attention to such words as special blend, protein mix, and so on. 15. Food producers can also choose the opposite approach, the splitting. Let's say the product has high amounts of sugar in it. Then the manufacturer can split it into many kinds of sugar. It will move the whole sugar collection to the end of the list, and the product won't look so unhealthy anymore. 16. Some stores can go as far as to make their flyers look like parking tickets you just can't ignore. Phew! You gave me a fright there for a moment. Some services also mail you ads that look like important documents you're bound to open. 17. Lots of manufacturers mention vitamins, minerals, and herbs on their products' packaging. What most customers don't know is that the companies need just a tiny amount of the healthy stuff to mention it on the package. But when you check the ingredient list, you'll probably find it at the very bottom. 18. Lower calories and reduce fat sound tempting, but these are extremely tricky terms. They most likely mean that this product's version contains fewer calories than the previous one. It's still packed with fats and sugars. 19. Food manufacturers love playing with terminology. Let's say you see natural or even all natural on the packaging label. It seems like a good thing. The very definition of natural implies that the product doesn't contain anything artificial. But for one thing, you know nothing about the supposed natural ingredients. In what environment were they grown or produced? By whom? When? Plus, some manufacturers just ignore the sign they place on the packaging and still add synthetic stuff inside. 20. If some substance gets a bad reputation for being unhealthy, manufacturers won't want it included in their ingredient list. Do they switch to healthier alternatives? Not really. In most cases, they just disguise the name. For example, you've heard that artificial sweeteners aren't good for your health. You examine the box but find nothing of the kind. What you might not know is that sucralose on the list of ingredients is a sugar substitute and artificial sweetener at that. 21. You might have also seen foods labeled naturally sweetened in supermarkets. This sign immediately makes an impression of a product with better quality. If you read the ingredient list, though, you'll notice that this natural sweetness is achieved by adding good old white refined sugar. 22. Kids' food packaging, like cereal boxes, tend to be bright and vivid, and food for adults has more muted colors. Studies show that customers associate such hues with healthier products while linking bright colors with more artificial ingredients. This phenomenon is so powerful that people even perceive a candy bar with a green label healthier than one with red. 23. Made with. This sign attracts many customers. Unfortunately, a product made with maple syrup usually doesn't contain much, if any, of the real thing. It's just the flavoring, coloring, and whatnot, but not natural syrup. Go through the ingredient list, looking for the product mentioned on the packaging, and you'll find it at the very bottom, if at all. Wow, I think I need to eat an apple right now. Just one ingredient, apple. Truth in advertising right there. Here are 10 grocery shopping tricks you must know to get quality products. You know, all we want is safe, fresh, good quality food from the grocery store. Is that too much to ask? Apparently so, because a lot of food manufacturers and retailers out there care more about profits, and they'll do anything to cut costs, even if it means risking your well-being. That's why we're here to spread the message and let the consumer, that is you, know what to look for to keep yourself from falling prey to these dishonest and dangerous tricks. Let's start with number 1. Don't fall for the convenience of prepackaged items. Think twice before reaching for individually packaged foods that were sliced or prepared in the deli. These often include cold cuts, cheese or vegetable trays, marinades, fruits, and the like. It's highly probable that these foods are expired or just about to go bad. The date of packaging won't tell you anything in this case, because these sorts of stickers can easily be changed several times a day. Fresh food in this packaging immediately attracts a lot of bacteria, which is why it's better to either ask someone in the deli to cut and wrap your food in front of you, or go for factory packaged goods. Number 2. Be alert in the deli department. Now, when buying ready-made salads, pay attention to the ones that have a lot of garlic and spice or fresh herbs. This is how retailers try to disguise expired goods. When choosing a salad, remember that those with meat or fish expire way faster than vegetable ones. Salads with oil dressings are safer than ones dressed with mayonnaise. Still, it's better to choose salads without any dressing, because they can be stored for up to 2 days. To be on the completely safe side, you can check if the deli follows the FDA safety regulations when it comes to working with fresh food. These include, ready-made salads must be kept in a glass dish. It oxidizes faster in metal ones, and in a separate display case. Every dish should have its own spoon. Service personnel must always wear disposable gloves when handling food. Tip number 3. Check the condition of the packaging. Crunched up sides, deformations, cracks, smashed cardboard, traces of dried liquids. These are not just cosmetic defects. Any visible damage can be a sign of improper storage, transporting in the wrong directions, and even expiration. Perform a thorough inspection of the packaging. Just be careful that you might end up buying it if you accidentally damage the product. Number 4. Carefully examine all goods, especially fresh ones. Grocery stores know perfectly well how to showcase their goods from the best side. Your task is to see what's hidden. For example, lighting in meat display cases makes everything look fresh and mouth-watering. So ask the person working the meat counter to take a piece that you would like out of the display so you can look at it yourself. You'll be shocked at how different it can look under normal lighting. Don't follow stereotypical advice either. A lot of people avoid buying meat with a dry film on top because they think it's old. All that means, though, is that this meat has been in contact with the air and wasn't covered by plastic wrap. If a piece of meat looks too perfectly wet, that's a sign that store workers have probably tried to freshen it up by spraying water on it. This deceptive practice just makes the meat less juicy once it's cooked. As for frozen foods, don't buy ones with a lot of ice glaze on them. In the majority of cases, this means that the goods were frozen and defrosted many times, which can actually be dangerous for your health. It's also difficult to visually estimate what's hidden under that icy glaze. Number 5. Beware of brightly colored goods. Now, we tend to associate bright colors with bright flavors, but this is a dangerous misconception. Fruits and vegetables that were grown naturally in soil normally have a duller color, spots, and other imperfections on the peel. But this doesn't mean they're not healthy and tasty. Fruits that were grown in greenhouses are perfect and beautiful, but that's because they contain chemicals that give them this visually pleasing aesthetic. Many people think that the brighter the cheese looks, the more fat it contains, so the better it tastes. But truly natural cheese is always white or pale yellow. That bright yellow color is only achieved by adding coloring. In most cases, this is a harmless color additive made from annatto tree seeds. But still, if you want to be on the safe side, don't pick your cheese based on a vivid color. The bright color of salmon can be achieved by using chemical coloring too. Another example is ketchup and other sauces. Even though we're always attracted to bright jars, it's better to choose sauces with more subdued colors. That means they were made from natural components. Oh, and let's not forget the bright red meat that gives us a false impression that it's fresh off the farm. Meat tends to turn grayish when exposed to heat. But gray doesn't sell now, does it? So the butcher's solution is to treat it with nitric oxide, also known as pink salt or curing salt, to maintain its reddish shade. Fresh, you say? Uh-huh. Number 6. Time to take a look around for the goods you need. In order to sell more expensive products, retailers put them on the most noticeable place on the shelf, at the consumer's eye level or in the middle of the display case. We're drawn to these goods simply because of this marketing ploy. But it doesn't mean that they're made from quality ingredients. In order to minimize loss because of expired goods, retailers have their workers move products that are about to expire closer to these attractive places. The solution is simple. Don't be lazy. Reach for the back of the shelf in order to buy fresher and better quality foods. Search for items on the very top and bottom of shelves too. This is where they place cheaper products. A little leg exercise won't hurt if you're looking to save money, right? Number 7. Understand the labels literally. If you see products labeled as Milkies, Cheezos, Yogos, and other weird names, don't assume that the manufacturer is just trying to be cute. They use these terms because the ingredients in their products aren't real and can't legally be called such. These funny names are meant to disguise and sell a cheap, low-quality equivalent of a real product. Don't think that labels like no sugar added, no cholesterol, enriched with vitamins and the like are indicators of quality. In fact, no sugar added basically means contains a lot of chemical sweeteners. And you don't want to eat chemicals now, do you? Me neither. Number 8. Be wary of foods labeled organic. First of all, let's establish what organic food actually is. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, organic food is produced by farmers who emphasize the use of renewable resources. It's produced without conventional pesticides, fertilizers made with synthetic ingredients, or sewage sludge, bioengineering, or ionizing radiation. Yeah, all of those sound pretty scary, right? But how can you know if something's the real deal? For fresh produce like fruits and vegetables, check the Price Lookup or PLU sticker. It should have a 5-digit code that starts with the number 9, like 94401. If it doesn't, it's not organic. Number 9. Choose local goods. Checking if a product was locally sourced is extremely important when choosing fruits, vegetables, and dairy products. It's better to buy locally sourced goods because long transportation and possible violations of carriage conditions can influence their taste and quality. Plus, it's never a bad idea to support local businesses in your community. Number 10. Ask store workers for their advice. Retail staff might be instructed to arrange goods on a shelf a certain way, but most of them won't lie to someone's face. Use your chance to ask a store worker about the goods you're looking for, like where you can find them, how fresh they are, and when the next batch will arrive. Even if the worker tries to lie to you, you'll probably notice it and draw your own conclusions. And there you go. You're now fully armed with the necessary knowledge and expertise to avoid falling for these deceptive retail tricks. With a careful eye for detail and a little bit more effort, you'll be coming home from the grocery store with only the tastiest, safest, best quality foods on the shelf. Enjoy! 10 traps in stores that make you pay more. How often do you make unnecessary purchases in a supermarket? We bet the answer is every day. However, you're usually forced to buy useless things with a whole set of tricks. Here are the most common traps marketing experts use to boost sales and get as much of your money as possible. Number 10. Inconvenient checkouts. More than 60% of people put back unnecessary purchases in the checkout line. To prevent customers from doing this, manufacturers don't put any shelves on checkout areas and make them incredibly narrow. In this case, you can't remove unnecessary things from your cart and put them anywhere. Remember that if you've changed your mind, you can give all the things you don't need to a cashier. There is nothing to be ashamed about. Number 9. Rest without a rest. Food courts are meant for you to relax and have a snack before continuing your shopping. However, you won't be able to spend much time eating. Uncomfortable seats, little space between the tables, and noise all do their job. This trick helps shopping malls keep people browsing the stores and have a constant flow of customers. Number 8. No windows, no clocks. It's common knowledge that casinos have no windows or clocks. So people lose their sense of reality and spend a lot of time and money there. Shopping malls borrowed this trick to do just the same. Are you familiar with a situation where you run to a store for only 10 minutes but spend an hour there? Then you know what we're talking about. Number 7. Cozy shops. All passageways in the malls are brightly lit, and there's always loud music that is amplified and echoed by the floor tiling. But as soon as you enter any of the stores, the floors and lights become softer, and the music is suddenly calm and pleasant. All this creates a feeling of comfort and makes you stay longer in the shop. Sometimes the whole day.
No! What year is it?
Number 6. Clever fitting room mirrors. Sad as it is, fitting room mirrors are made specifically to make us look slimmer and taller. Some lingerie stores, for example, add pink pigment to their mirrors to make the skin look tanned. Why does this trick work? The more we like ourselves in some clothes, the more likely we'll buy them. Yeah, a friend of mine bought a weird pair of jeans last week because of this trick. Don't let them fool you. Think twice before buying. Number 5. Rearranging goods. If you buy your stuff at the same store for a certain time, you know exactly where everything is. You move straight to your mark without looking around. When the store shuffles the goods, you feel like you're lost in a desert. You have to search for what you need, filling your cart along the way. And that's what the stores are aiming for. Number 4. Thought-out lighting. Everyone knows the best bananas are those of a certain tint of yellow. This also applies to other fruits and vegetables, and shop owners know this well. The issue of imperfect colors is solved with lighting. The right light can make any goods look much better. Number 3. Artificial demand. Let's take juice shelves for an example. Ever notice those empty spaces between the cartons? We tend to think it's because the juice is popular, as it's so good and we take it for granted. Alas, most of the time, it's the store employees who remove the juice from the shelves to create the appearance of high demand. Tricky one, but it always works. Number 2. Manipulation based on lack of confidence. Mirrors outside the fitting rooms play an important role in sales. If a person is not too confident or just doesn't look great, their reflection will remind them of that. This trick makes us buy something new to feel better. Keep in mind that you don't need a new dress or t-shirt to stay as perfect as you already are. Number 1. Playing contrasts. There are 2 kettles with similar characteristics on the same shelf, but one of them costs $79.99 and the other is $99.99. The cheap one will sell well, and the more expensive one will go almost unsold. Why is that? Well, we often don't think of the real value of things. We just want to get a great bargain. Spend some time thinking about the product's features. Don't be fooled by price tags. Now you think that restaurants, as fancy and expensive as they are, would just be happy with the fact that they make money on our "don't feel like cooking tonight" laziness. But alas, a few of them do have some tricks up their sleeves to get more of your money. Next time you go out to eat, make sure you know how to protect yourself from scammers. Probably the most important thing to bear in mind when you go to a restaurant is that you should know exactly how much you tip the waiter. You see, when you pay with your debit card, your tip is automatically charged to it for your convenience. However, this just might turn out to be a trap, and you won't even see it coming. There are dishonest workers who, upon getting the receipt and seeing how much you'd like to leave as a tip, have no problem changing it to an amount they deem more suitable. You may have been unhappy with the service or just not ready to fork over 20% of the bill. But this waiter probably doesn't give two hoots about that. So, the sneaky ones will charge you more than you specified without thinking twice. I mean, it's like the adult equivalent of changing report card Fs into Bs. Not that you ever did that, of course. Just like that, a waiter can easily change a 3 into an 8. The trouble is, they probably won't get caught if you're not vigilant enough yourself. And that's because the bill for the food might be charged to your account almost immediately. But the tip is usually held back for some hours or even days before showing up on your balance. And if it's not that large of an amount, you probably won't even notice the difference unless you go through your account every single day with a fine-tooth comb. The restaurant employees who use this scheme don't even need to drive the tip up too high. A few bucks here and there will leave them with a much more sizable paycheck by the end of the month. If you want to save your money from such scammers, it's always best to get some proof while you still can. Write down the tip and total amount, and either ask your waiter to make a physical copy for you, or simply take a picture of your receipt before you leave. Then, if you notice anything unusual about the amount charged to your account later on, you can call the restaurant and explain the situation. You can also just call your bank and avoid this awkward conversation altogether. Your card provider will take it upon themselves for you. Convenient, huh? Also, if you're paying with your credit or debit card, as most of us do these days, right? You should always keep it with you. The first rule of safety and security is to never ever let your card be taken away from you. If a waiter doesn't bring the POS terminal to you, but asks you to give them your card, it's best to refuse or get up and walk to the register with them. Otherwise, if they're the dishonest type, they might copy your information from it, including the CVC code on the back, and soon enough, you'll start seeing some weird charges on your account. So it's best to just not risk it. Now, I know what you're thinking, well, I'll just start paying in cash all the time. Good idea. But it's not without its own risks. For example, let's say you dined for $70. You'd like to leave a tip of $15, making a total of $85. You give the waiter a $100 bill and wait for your change. Then you wait some more. And still some more. If the waiter doesn't show up for a considerable amount of time, you can assume they forgot about you and flag them down. It's understandable, they're super busy. A brief and polite reminder that you're still waiting for your change usually solves the issue. However, there are those restaurant workers who do this on purpose. It's not customary for a waiter to assume their tip is included in the amount they were given. Yet some of them simply forget to come back with the change in hopes you'll want to avoid confrontation. Others will even try to cheat you on your change. To avoid being robbed in such a blatant way, never hesitate to remind the waiter of your change and always count it before you leave. Another way restaurants may get a little richer at your expense is a fake menu. The scheme works like this. You're given a menu as soon as you sit down, and you're pleasantly surprised by the prices you see. Already stoked to have a delicious and cheap meal, you order plenty of stuff without thinking twice. Then, when the bill comes, your eyes really do get bigger than your already full belly. The amount you should pay for each item is much higher than it was before. Of course, in this case, you should immediately call the manager and ask them to explain the situation. The main problem is that the manager may also be in on the scheme. They might bring you another menu that looks exactly like the one you were given initially, but with different prices. I think you've already guessed that these prices would coincide with those on your receipt. Well, what else can you do? You could ask to see all the menus in the restaurant, but they're not going to give you the fake one. It's probably hidden somewhere, and you'll never know. Don't worry, it's not a completely hopeless situation. One thing you can do is simply ask the waiter to leave the menu for you in case you want to order something else. If they insist on taking it for some reason, though, this should serve as a red flag that something's not right. A restaurant should have enough menus to cover all the tables in all the rooms with at least one per table. But if they do take it away, make sure you first take a picture of each dish you've ordered with the price clearly visible in the shot. This way, you'll have documented proof of what you've seen and what you should pay. But the restaurant personnel may explain this scam by saying you've been given an old menu by mistake, so the prices aren't accurate. If this is the case, you have every right to pay for your meal according to that old menu. You were deliberately misinformed about the prices, which is actually enough to take legal action. You can point that out to the manager. This will normally solve the problem immediately. There's also one seemingly innocent scheme that some restaurants may use, but it's no less unpleasant if you do happen to come across it. Many places use coupons and flyers to lure customers in and let them know there are some amazing offers on their food. If you fall for such a thing, make sure you first check all the fine print on the piece of paper in your hands. Some coupons may already be expired. If you're not attentive to such tiny details, you may find yourself paying the full price for a meal you thought would be discounted. Flyers given out on the street are usually just trash used to lure you in, so don't even bother. If you get your hands on a restaurant discount coupon, ask the personnel about it before you make your order, not after. This way, you'll make sure that the coupon is still active and you can use it to pay less. Better still, check it for any hidden conditions beforehand, and find the place on the internet. Credible restaurants will always have an up-to-date website with all the information about their special offers, including coupons. If there's nothing on the web and your coupon doesn't have an obvious expiration date, the only thing you can do is ask the staff about it directly. Hey, whatever works. Hope you brought your appetite for this one. 11 ways all-you-can-eat buffets make their money. Hey, you ever wonder how all-you-can-eat buffets could possibly make any money? I mean, given the name, how on earth do they feed people's bottomless appetites and still come out with a profit? Restaurant guests can grab plate after plate, or even stack everything vertically on one, of an endless array of dishes and cuisines. All of this for one, usually low price. So, what's their secret to success? Well, these sorts of buffets have some tricks up their sleeve to keep business rolling, and you're about to find out exactly what they are. Now, before we get into the behind-the-scenes of your favorite buffet-style restaurants, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, where you'll find the answers to life's biggest questions. Be sure to ring that bell to be notified of our daily uploads here on the bright side of life. Alright, first things first. Who came up with the plan to let people grab as much food as they want? Well, you can thank the Swedish for that. The buffet was a highlight of medieval feasts, but it was the Swedes who formally introduced the Bravensbord in the 16th century. This elaborate buffet was their way of welcoming guests. The original menu consisted of finger foods, no, not real fingers, cured meats, smoked fish, and bravin, a traditional spiced vodka. Ooh. In the 18th century, they introduced both cold and hot dishes to the table and changed the name to smorgasbord, which I'm sure you've heard of. The smorgasbord gained global fame during the 1912 Olympic Games in Stockholm, and the Swedes brought it to the U.S. at the 1939 World's Fair. But it was Herb McDonald, a show producer for the El Rancho Vegas Hotel, who decided to use this style as a marketing strategy to keep patrons gambling. In the mid-40s, he opened the Buckaroo Buffet, A 24-hour all-you-can-eat spread for the price of $1. The endless buffet's long and enduring history proves how effective and popular it is. But now, let's get into the details as to how the whole thing works and how they manage to turn a profit. Here's a list of their most effective methods. Counting down from number 11, a strategic layout. Anyone who's ever been to a buffet might have noticed this strategic layout. At the start of the line, the first thing you see is carb-rich foods like fried rice. They sometimes put veggies or salads at the beginning too. The line starts with these dishes because they have the cheapest ingredients but still do the job of filling up your belly. It's only further down the line when you can get meat, fish, or other more expensive main courses. Number 10. The size of the serving dishes. Besides the layout, they also control the size of the serving dishes. Cheap starches and veggies are in the big heaping trays with more jumbo-sized serving spoons. You can scoop out large quantities of rice and fill your plate up faster at the beginning of the line. Trays for more expensive foods, on the other hand, aren't that huge and full. They often give you tongs to grab the pieces one at a time so that you can't simply pile it on your plate. You have no choice but to limit yourself and move on because you don't want to hold up the line. It's genius. Number 9. Smaller plates and utensils. Buffets don't limit this size control to the serving dishes. They also effectively monitor the size of the plates and eating utensils. They provide smaller than average dinner plates and tiny dessert bowls. Even the spoon and fork you're given are smaller than the normal ones. It boils down to the psychology of eating. Based on a study conducted by researchers at the MRC L.C. Widdowson Laboratory at the University of Oxford, limiting the bite or portion size reduces overeating. So it's no wonder you can't find full-size dinner plates or big soup bowls on an all-you-can-eat buffet table. Number 8. A huge food cost margin. Despite all that, there are still restaurant patrons who overeat. They're called super diners. And buffets are well aware of people who could eat 3 times what the average person could. Which brings us to the cost of food. According to Chef Jonas Mika-Luster, the price the restaurant pays for the food or ingredients is just 30 to 35% of the price guests pay for a meal. A super diner doesn't burn a hole in the buffet's budget simply because they have such a huge food cost margin. Number 7. Computer-monitored food waste. So, there's bound to be food waste, given the fact that our eyes are often a lot bigger than our bellies. So how do buffets deal with this? Well, they use sophisticated computer software to monitor food waste. This way, they can track everything from the weekly waste amounts to how much is consumed daily to what dishes are most popular for the diners depending on the day of the week or the season. After this rigorous data gathering, they can determine what types of dishes people want and how much they're likely to consume. Some buffets even charge double as a form of punishment to diners who have leftovers on their plate. Yow! Just like Mom said, you better clean that plate. Number 6. The fill the customer's belly cheaply motto. Psychology Today explains that every buffet's mission is to fill the customer's belly as cheaply and as quickly as possible. How do they do it? They have a flexible menu designed towards cheap dishes. Vegetables and meat are bought in bulk and at a cheaper price, but they're still high quality and versatile. The same goes for rice and noodle-based foods. Number 5. Buying seasonal and regional ingredients. If an ingredient, for example tomatoes, is in season, it's a lot cheaper than usual, so a buffet can buy it in bulk. They also take advantage of locally sourced foods or ingredients because they tend to be cheaper. What's great about that flexible menu is that they can easily change it. So, if an ingredient moves off-season and prices started to increase, they can remove it from their lineup and exchange it with something cheaper. As a bonus, It also attracts more patrons when they use ads like locally sourced or seasonally fresh. This marketing trick creates an illusion that diners are getting something extra special. Number 4. Profitable drinks. Of course, how can you wolf down spoonfuls of food without a beverage to wash it down? And this is where buffets really rake in the cash. Drinks aren't included in the price of the buffet and don't fall into the same 30% food cost markup. Instead, they sell it at up to a 90% profit margin. It's their sneaky and clever way of pocketing more dough per person before you even get to the buffet line. Number 3. Eliminating labor costs. Everyone in the food business can testify how labor costs take up a huge percentage of their profit. But this isn't really a problem for all-you-can-eat joints. They don't need to hire waiters to serve food because diners get their own drinks and plates. This is the benefit of self-service dining. Fancy plating or elaborate food presentation by skilled chefs isn't necessary either. The dishes are prepared and cooked in advance in large quantities. It saves labor costs and allows buffets to enjoy larger profits. Number 2. Charging higher prices for higher quality. For some diners, a cheaper price buffet isn't always better. This was proven in a study conducted by the Cornell Food and Brand Lab at Cornell University. A team of researchers studied how the price of a buffet influenced customers. Of the 139 participants who dined at an Italian buffet in New York, one group was charged $4, while the other had to pay $8. Both groups ate from the same pizza buffet menu, yet the ones who paid $8 were more satisfied than those who paid less. This goes to show that higher prices often get more customers in the door. And number 1. Banning people. Now, believe it or not, diners can get banned for overeating. I know, it seems totally unreasonable given the whole all-you-can-eat promise in their branding. But it does happen, like in 2012, when an overdiner by the name of Bill Wist was banned from one buffet-style fish fry. He was piling so much on his plate that the restaurant was running out of food for other patrons. The establishment says that it wasn't a one-time thing, and they even called the police to settle the matter. Well, endless buffets still run a business, and they can't do that if people take advantage of the privilege given to them. In other words, they're saying, hey, this is an all-you-can-eat joint, and buddy, that's all you can eat. And that's basically it. The science behind all-you-can-eat buffets is a play of economics, marketing, consumer behavior, and a bit of, force. Sure, you can still eat anything you want, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting what you pay for. After all, the moment you step inside the restaurant, they already have full control over what you'll eat and how much you'll consume. So, it's up to you to decide if you're really getting such an incredible deal.